What's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by another lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy CJ Vogel. Shout out to our sponsors who are helping us out here for this Tuesday night live stream. Andy Ludicky and his team, of course, PrizePicks and Mark Saunders. We'll give you more messages from the fine folks at from our advertisers coming up a little bit later on. But we'll get to a lot of topics. It's actually a very event-filled day for college football fans. There was a USA Today article that came out with an interview from Sark, and Sark pretty much had a list of grievances. It wasn't Festivus, but he did have a list of grievances, and we'll talk about that. Also, there were the start times were announced for two of the blockbuster matchups for the Longhorns in 2026. Game Day will be in town for that Texas-Ohio State matchup. And Texas will be hosting in that matchup, and Texas going on the road to play A&M. Also, that time has been announced. Both of those will be 6:30 start time, 6:30 Central Standard Time start time. So prime time matchups. I think CJ and I both on the same page. Going to see a lot of those. But the show belongs to you. It is a show of the people, for the people, and by the people. So whatever you guys want to talk about, throw it out there. Questions, comments. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. Let's start with the game times that were announced, CJ, and we'll work our way back to the Steve Sarkisian interview with USA Today. But let's start there. Game day in town for the Texas-Ohio State matchup. Not really shocked about that. That's probably going to be 1-2 or 1-3 or somewhere. It's definitely going to be a top 5 matchup. No question about that. Game day is going to be in town for it. And as we thought, yep, it's going to be a prime time kickoff, 6:30 start time. What are your thoughts about the Longhorns and both of those matchups? Longhorns also going against the Aggies getting a prime time start.
Yeah, twofold for me, right? Obviously, college game day, right? It's exciting. It's the glitz, the glamour, the pomp and the pageantry. That's the quote Sark loves to throw out when he talks about college football and how exciting it is as a sport. So that's great, right? We're all excited for that. But on the flip side, I'm kind of like, oh, shoot, I don't want to watch college game day again. Texas doesn't really do well with college game day in attendance. They're 3-8 in the Sark era. They're 0-3 at home, Rod. We went through the numbers a little bit earlier. I'll go through them again here in a bit, but I'm kind of sitting here saying, God, Texas wants to get over the Ohio State hump. What they don't need is college game day in attendance because for whatever reason, Texas hasn't done too well. Again, 0-3 at home with college game day, and they've yet to score 20 points.
Wow.
Either of those 3 games. So, look, maybe this will be the year. Maybe they'll get over that hump and they'll improve to 1-2 against Ohio State. They'll improve to 1-4 at home with game day. But altogether, I mean, I don't think the excitement for this game could get any higher than what it is currently.
No, I'm with you on that. I mean, there's no doubt it's going to be at a fever pitch in terms of the hype for this matchup. And something we really didn't talk about, and I want to get into your numbers too, because it's a bit depressing, actually, listening to you break out those numbers about Texas when they are hosting game day or when they are involved in a game day game. But the amount of talent that's going to be on the field. I mean, Ohio State, I believe in the last 4 drafts, is averaging around 8.5 players drafted per draft. Yeah. So, I mean, Texas, and yet you've done some of the numbers too, CJ, projected to set a program record, or at least a lot of folks are projecting Texas may set a program record for draft picks, at least in the modern era, in that 2027 draft. So the amount you're probably talking about just in draft picks in the 2027 draft, they're probably going to be 20, 22, some like 20. You may get, low 20s in terms of the amount of actual draft picks that could be playing in that game, considering Ohio State does what they do, and Texas could be having a banner year for producing NFL talent.
No, it's going to be, again, it was kind of like this a year ago, and that ended up being a bit of a down year for Texas with only 6 NFL draft picks selected. Yeah. But you had 4 guys selected in the top 12 from Ohio State, and then you look a year ahead, and Texas projected to do the exact same thing with Ohio State adding Jeremiah Smith and some few other pieces. Julian Sane will be in that conversation, at least at this point in the year. So it's riddled with talent. And again, I look back at was it the Texas A&M game a year ago in the press box? And now Texas will have a new press box, fortunately, right? But you couldn't walk in that press box, just like you couldn't sit in the stands. I'm sure you couldn't move throughout the stadium and whatever section you were sitting in, maneuver in and out of aisles. But I look at that press box, and whether it was scouts, executives, team personnel, media, national media, local media, whatever, it was packed to the gills for that Texas A&M game. And I'm expecting that to be the exact same case for this game this upcoming September, because like you said, the talent there will be no shortage of talent between these two teams. There never will be.
Yeah.
And what this series, this back and forth, really needs to take it to the next level, it needs Texas to come up and find a way to come up with a victory on their own. So now you can have the back and forth. Now you can have the history of they started out 2-0. Texas came back. They started the year with a win at home. They traded the home and home. Now you can start moving into what's to come later on, just the same way you would with the Georgia, should Texas get to that point as well.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And so, man, CB says Todd McShay said nearly 30-plus draftable prospects will be on the field at DKR when Ohio State comes to town. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure draftable prospects, in terms of how many guys actually get drafted, like I said, I bet it's low 20s. I bet you. And like I said, if both of those teams end up being really, really good, hell, you could be talking about 30-plus. But I think just a reasonable, even a low projection would be 23 to 25. Like I said, Ohio State going to give you 8. That's just what they've been doing year after year. If they have a stellar year, they'll give you 10 to 11 double digits. Texas expects to have the best year they've had under Sark, and Sark's done a fantastic job, actually, producing NFL draft picks recently. And so that could be crazy in terms of the amount of NFL talent you're going to see on the field. It's something else I want to get into, because you brought it up. You opened the door. Texas and game day, Texas football and Sark. And is it not a game day curse? Is it a game day curse yet? You want to put it in the curse category yet, CJ?
Well, I don't know what to think about it, because with game day, you sit there with the heightened expectations and the emotions, and everybody's looking in to watch you play. And at home, Texas doesn't play well, but on the road, I mean, shoot, you get the road win in Texas A&M in 2024. You had the road win in 2024 against Michigan and Ann Arbor. You go to Tuscaloosa. I mean, so there's success there. Now, for whatever the reason, neutral site games, Texas is also 0-4. They've lost in 2021 and 2023 under Sark to Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. You look at Georgia SEC championship game, the road game in Athens last year against Georgia as well, and then Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. So I don't know what it is in terms of, maybe it's just putting on the icy whites rod and saying, hey, we're on the road. We're the underdogs here. We got to bring it. But hopefully, there's some sort of remedy or a common ground here to where the home field can be an advantage for Texas in this type of an environment.
Yeah, that's a fascinating number. That Texas on the road in those big matchups has actually had a little more success than it all comes down to top, because those are usually the top 10 matchups. I mean, not every time, but most of the time Texas has been in a game day scenario with under Sark. It's versus top 10 teams, and that is one of the last places. Like, that's, to me, one of the last steps for Sark to take to become an elite coach. He hasn't yet consistently be able to win those top 10 matchups. I think since 2023, since he's really got the ball rolling at Texas, 21 and 22, I mean, he was still getting things going. 23, he really got things. I mean, he really started moving in a positive direction, momentum-wise, competing for conference championships. Since then, Texas, I think he's 5-6 in top 10 matchups, but 3-2 last season in those top 10 matchups. So that's because that's what you're going to see in the playoff. Like, that's what we're talking about here. Is each of these game day scenarios, these are pretty much playoff scenarios. You're usually going to be a top 10 matchup. You said, what's it, the glitz and the glamour and the pomp and the pageantry. You're going to have all that associated with the playoff games, and you're going to be going up against an elite coach most of the time in that scenario. And teams that can match your talent. They can match you talent for talent most of the time. There's not a huge separation in those game day games against Georgia, Ohio State, Bama, Michigan, A&M, talent-wise. Maybe every now and then, I don't know if you look at the TCU matchup, but pretty close in terms of talent. I think what puts you over the top is becoming a chess master, being able to win that battle of wits with the opposing coach. And at times, whether you're talking about this year with Matt Patricia calling plays against Sark and pretty much had that offense in a blender? Are you talking about the Jim Knowles aspect from the playoff game with Ohio State a couple of years ago? Are you talking about Kirby Smart overall? Are you talking about Ryan Day? Kaylee and DeBoer a couple of times? Like, that's the last step for Sark. Like that, to me, that's why this game day conversation is so interesting, because we've seen it, we know it's in him, and we know that he's capable, that he's got to put it together this season and be able to do that multiple times in key situations. And Ohio State's the perfect scenario for him to prove it to Longhorn fans.
And look, that's kind of the thing is you're right there, right? You mentioned the top 10 wins a year ago, but I think Texas fans at this point, they expect to beat Oklahoma in Dallas.
Yeah.
Until proven otherwise, they expect to beat Texas A&M, and both teams made the college football playoff. Vanderbilt, look, I know that they had a great run. They had an awesome quarterback for, the college level, but they expect to beat Vanderbilt. It's that next tier. It's the Ohio States. It's the Georgias. It's, the schools that are continuously competing for a national championship, where you're saying Texas should be in that conversation. How do they get there? And that starts week 2. Texas, this should be a game at home that Texas comes out with everything to prove. Everything that they want is ahead of them. And now they know how important this early win is for the rest of the season. Because you talk about 8 straight games in the SEC with no bye weeks in between. That's a tough slate, especially with three of the last 4 on the road. So I've been very close to dubbing this a must-win game. Week 2, it's crazy. But I think it is very close because of the buffer it would set for yourself and the precedent that we've now seen that winning these games, it means something to the committee.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that buffer. It'd be nice to go into SEC play with a clean slate with no L's on it. So, just in case you do have a slip up here or there, you still got a shot. You only get, you got to be double digits. We know 10-2 is probably the worst record in terms of trying to get to the playoff. Something else I wanted to bring up was, and I think you and I are on the same page about this prediction, that Texas could have. They got to hold it there in the bargain. They got to be good, as they got to meet expectations. But if they are, with Arch Manning and the star power there, and, I feel like Sark's even helping out making the headlines, which we'll get to here in the offseason too, there's a chance the game day record, I don't know what it is for Texas. I believe it may be 3. I believe in 05 and 08, and maybe even 09, you had 3 game day scenarios where you were involved in, whether they, you was on the road or somebody was hosting. And I want to say maybe the record in a season, I want to say 2019 LSU had it 5 times.
Yeah.
I don't want to say 2019 LSU. I want to say 5. I don't know if that's the record, but I believe they had 5 times. Because game day, think about game day also goes to the national title too. So they count that. So that's also included when Texas went there in 05, and I believe in 09 as well. But you could, for Texas anyway, you could set your game day records because you got a lot of sexy matchups, the Manning storyline all weaved into them all. And if you're good, and we think it's going to be good, I think you could have a special season in terms of the amount of big time game day matchups and nighttime matchups, because usually those game day matchups, not every time, but usually they end up with a prime time kickoff.
Yeah, it's funny. I think College Game Day could basically just flip a coin between Texas and LSU and come up with a very compelling matchup tour just by going back and forth from Baton Rouge to Austin or whoever they might play on that given weekend. And I think they might do that throughout the first 3 weeks of the season, Rod, right? Because they're starting LSU Clemson.
Yeah.
They'll go Texas, Ohio State. And then you mentioned this earlier on another episode that we did. Look, week 3 is going to be Ole Miss and LSU. Tell me why they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, got to.
So,
you got to do that, man. Got to.
Yeah. That alone, of course, I think it's great when game day ends up at, I think it's great when it goes West Virginia Pitt, and it highlights a rivalry who is very regional. There's a lot of hatred there, but the rest of the country may not understand just how deep it goes. And so I think that's fantastic. But at the same time, I don't think I would blame them if they just followed Lane Kiffin and this Texas team around the entire year. I will say this, 2024, Texas did end up with 4 game day appearances.
Okay,
they did have Michigan big noon kickoff and game day went up to Ann Arbor for Texas, Michigan.
You're right. Okay.
They came down to Austin for the Georgia game, in which Georgia ended up winning 30-15. And then to your point, and kind of the point that you made about LSU as well, they followed them to the SEC championship game in the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State. So if Texas continues on a path for a deep playoff run, Rod, it wouldn't be crazy to think by the end of this thing that there's 6 game day appearances for Texas.
Yeah, that's a good point with the play. If you make if you get to the national title, that would be crazy, because I'm with you. That LSU, I believe LSU is going to go. There's no doubt you have to do LSU Ole Miss as a little sidebar. We'll talk about obviously what's going on there, but there's way too much, vitriol now between those two squads with the Lane Kiffin storyline. So yeah, I think you're right about that. I think that definitely is going to happen. And like I said, between Texas and LSU, it's going to be interesting. I mean, they may end up with 6 to 8 between the two schools. They end up, and includes Texas at LSU. I also think it's going to be a game day in town. And I think we all agree that's going to be a night game. So it's going to be really interesting this season. All right. Good stuff. We'll get to some more. I got to get some super chats. We'll get to those. We'll also get to Sark's interview with USA Today Sports. Let's thank our sponsor first, our sponsors, a couple of those. Let's thank our friend Andy Ludicky and his team for being a part of our team here at On Texas Football. Really appreciate Andy. Does a great job for us, and he'll do a great job for you. So if you're looking to diversify, you may be someone like myself or like Bobby has their hands in multiple businesses. Well, Andy can help you diversify by finding you different businesses that will fit your time allotment and your financial goals. Call him or email him. If you're stuck in the corporate rat race with 2 weeks PTO and no control over the money you make or your schedule in general, reach out to Andy today, and he'll take you through a process that will help you find a business that will fit your skill sets and your financial goals. While franchise ownership isn't for everyone, my man Andy will help you find a situation that's right for you. So if you have a desire to take control of your financial destiny, don't wait. Reach out to Andy today at 404-973-9901. That's 404-973-9901. Or you can reach out at Andy@myperfectfranchise.net. That's Andy@myperfectfranchise.net. Thank you very much for Andy Ludicky and his team for being a part of our team here at On Texas Football. Also, let's thank our friends over at PrizePicks. Today's show brought to you by PrizePicks as well. It's a great time to be picking with PrizePicks, and if you're not doing it, you're probably doing yourself a disservice. It makes everything just that much more fun. Now, every possession matters, every at-bat matters, every shot, every pitch. You're locked in from start to finish. You're not just watching anymore. You've got a little juice in it, and there's a chance, a lot of upside, you can win some cash too. One of the best parts is, one of my favorite parts is, no deep dives, no complicated research, unless that's what you want to do, but you're just picking more or less on player stats, points, rebounds, hits, strikeouts, whatever you're already watching. They make it really simple, really easy. Build your lineup, submit it, and you're good. It takes just minutes. And there's different options for it. You can mix and match. So say your favorite player on your favorite team is really hot. You can still go with that, pick that, and combine that with basketball, or mix it and match it with baseball, hockey, golf, whatever you're into. Or you can just stick to the sport, the only sport that you love. Whatever you like, that's what PrizePicks is designed to appeal to you. So if you just want to pick your favorite player, like we're going to go with today, we went with Victor Wembanyama to have more than a half a rebound in the first 3 minutes of the game. He's averaging 2.4 during the playoffs in that time span. We're going to mix and match that with the Rangers. We got the Rangers infielder Corey Seager to have more than a half a strikeout. And Corey has struck out 6 times in the last 5 games. So like that pick as well. That's the play for today. So you can trust your gut, lock in. Like I said, really easy, and it takes just minutes. PrizePicks is available in all 50 states, including right here in the great state of Texas. So if you haven't jumped in yet, now is a great time. Download the app, use the code HMA, play $5, and they'll give you $50 in lineups instantly. That's the code HMA, play 5, and you'll get 50. Simple. And as always, play smart, play responsibly, and play PrizePicks. Thank you very much to our friends over at PrizePicks. They do a great job for us, and they'll do a great job for you too. It's really fun. Check it out. All right, let's get to some super chats where we got some time. Horns Truth, thank you for the super chat. Says, hope the fans give Joe Blow Desmond Howard. Hell. Yeah, I'm sure Desmond Howard, I mean, he's been getting it for a while now, because I remember the walking trash can video that he put out there. He's been getting it from Longhorn fans for a long time just because of that. I know they've been giving him the business. So thank you very much for the super chat, Horns Truth. But yeah, Desmond Howard, I don't feel bad for him, but he deserves it. But yeah, he's been getting the business. I'm sure he feels some shame about it. Hopefully, he feels some shame about it. Clay G, thank you for the super chat as well. A little bit. Clay G _3 says, thank you for super chat. Says, just throwing this out there. Last time Texas won a natty, we played Ohio State week 2 and beat Michigan in a bowl game the previous year. History repeated. Yeah, 04, that's right. It did catapult him right into that 05 season with a lot of confidence.
How about that? We got to get Marcus to talk about that later in the week. But, I mean, it is crazy sometimes. You just find instant parallels from historic seasons previously to what's ahead. And, I mean, this alone is, in a way, pretty crazy. The idea that between 3 games you play a bowl game against Michigan, 2 weeks later you play Ohio State week 2 to start the next year, and it's the same as 2000. Now Texas needs to go out there and assert their dominance the same way that 05 team did, but I think it's undeniable. But those quarterbacks, I mean, very talented. So we'll see.
Yeah, you're projected to have your highest drafted quarterback, just like VY.
At 1.0 recruiting ranking, there's only been like 4 of those things, both of them Vince and Arch. So
I know I like that, Clay G. You got me. See, now you got me feeling good. I do like that. I will say the big difference was that 05 schedule, conference-wise, compared to what you're going to face this year was, let's see, it wasn't cupcake, but it wasn't, right? I mean, we can go back and look at it. It was not a tough schedule. It was not for Texas. I mean, there was some close calls in there. I think there will be close calls in this year. That's kind of every national champion, even LSU. I remember looking back at the LSU schedule. They had this 3-point win over Auburn that everybody kind of forgets about. They kind of barely snuck by Auburn that year. But it happens to every national champion. You can go back and look at like, man, they barely squeaked by. But man, this schedule, it is by all projections and predictions, and that's based on record from last year or based on analytical models. Texas is seen to have the toughest schedule in the country. That may all prove to be BS, and maybe it doesn't matter. And I hope that is BS. But right now, that's what the analytics tell us, and that's what the projections from last year tell us. So
no, it's gonna be fun. All right. Hopefully the parallels continue for about 16 games, Rod. What do you think about that?
Yes, I
in there, 4th and 19 conversion. I mean,
exactly. That'd be that was so much scary. You play Colorado, beat the hell out of them. Texas Tech. I didn't realize Texas Tech was so good at that point. Actually, I didn't realize Texas Tech was a top. I didn't realize it was a top 10 matchup in 05. And they beat the hell out of them.
You'll remember this. Where were you? Do you remember watching that Ohio State game? Like where you watched it? And
I don't. That's a great question. I don't remember. I was still in the league at the time. I don't remember where I watched that game. Actually, it's a good one. I don't remember.
Crazy enough, I do. I was 8 years old, bro. 8 years old. I remember. It was at my aunt's house. Parents had gone out of town. They threw us with the aunt and uncle, and they're not huge Texas fans. And I said, we got to have this game on. They're like, dude, you're 8 years old. Let's eat your chicken nuggets or something. I was like, nah, get that game on. I don't throw a tantrum.
I love it. I love when there's a little kid like that that's serious about sports. Like just focused on like, nah, you need to turn the game on. I want to watch the game. I don't want to play right now. That's time to play. It's the time to watch the game. I know I'm 8 years old, but I want to watch this game. Get that Happy Meal out my face right now. I need to watch the game. That's a young thing. That's why he's a prodigy. That's why I call him a prodigy, ladies and gentlemen. CJ, I believe CJ. I believe it 100%. This is a guy that's got like 5 TV screens all in the same room just to watch sports. Like I believe him. He's got a passion for it. That's why he's good at it. But Clay G, I hope you're right about that. And the fact that CJ remembers like exactly where he was when he watched that game. Also, this shows you the guy's got. It
was one of the first games that I remember being on the TV screen and remembering how significant it was. And
wow,
I know it'll always kind of stick with me because it ended up being a pretty important season.
I know that's a great question. I don't know if now is the time, but what's your first memory of watching a game And actually, as a sports fan, when you became a true fan as a kid, you go, you actually sat down and watched the game. I was like, yeah, I remember watching that game as a kid. Like, watched it. Like, how old and what game was it? That's really interesting.
Hundreds of Rangers games, all of which probably resulted in me throwing or pouting or throwing a tantrum or something after the game. But now Texas in the fall, they, especially early on, pillows, blankets, nothing was safe in the house when they lost.
That's crazy. Yeah. Honestly, that's a good one. I know. Yeah. Arrowkid says that 93-94 Rockets championship. Yeah. Hey, which one was the one where the OJ chase happened? Which championship was that the one
June
for
19th?
Was that the Rockets run that happened then? Because you're right. It's like a sports day.
It was a Knicks game. Is it the Eastern Conference going on? I've seen the 30 for 30. I'm
trying to think of when that was. Now people going to be
June 17th, 1994. That had to have been.
So it was one of doing the Rockets run. It had to be then. 94 Rockets Knicks OJ Chase.
Knicks.
Morgan says that was my first memory. The OJ Chase. Oh, that was great. That it happened. I remember that though, because I do remember I'm from Houston. I remember as a Rockets fan, I remember it was a game on and they took the picture from the game and made a picture in a picture. And they had like the OJ Chase and then the Rockets game going at the same time. And at one point they just said, man, screw the Rockets game. People want to see OJ. And they kind of just made the Rockets game smaller. And did like the OJ thing kind of took over. I do remember that.
Did it start with the sound on the Rockets game? And then by the time they were like, oh, he's pushing 80 miles an hour. We got to.
I want to say they started talking about the chase on the game. If I'm not mistaken, there was a comment about it because they couldn't ignore it. It was the biggest story in the world at the time.
Yeah.
The juice was loose.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you're right. That is a sports memory and I was 14 at the time, I was a teenager, but it does stand out as one of the first ones. Yeah. Because the Rockets were a big thing, right? They were going for their back-to-back. So that was big in H-Town at the time. Oh, yeah. I remember that one. I also remember, speaking of one of my first memories, the Oilers collapsed to the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. I do remember that one. I remember that one. Yeah. Because I remember watching the first half with my dad and then going out to play and go play football because everybody was hyping. Oilers, everybody to go, man. Everybody going to Super Bowl, man. It feels good. And then I came back in the house and my dad was drinking Crown. And I was like, what's wrong? He was like, it was dark. I was like, what happened? And he was like, son, they lost. And I was like, what? That's not true. And then I never even watched the second half. I haven't watched the second half until I watched it like later on in my life. I think I went back and watched it somewhere else, but I didn't even watch the second. I didn't watch the comeback. I went outside and played football. Didn't even watch it. Yep. Remember that. Anyway, apologize for sharing my tragic memories with you guys of sports. Anyway, we got distracted. Let's get back to the questions. I don't even remember how we got into that. But thank you for that, Clay G. Graham Omen says, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Just got my ticket for the Ohio State at Texas game. Super excited. I listen to y'all 24/7. Well, y'all have a venue set up so I can meet y'all in real life. Hook 'em. Thank you, Graham, for the super chat, and I'm sure of it. I don't have details right now, but if I would put some real money on it. I got to put my mortgage on it. I got to bet my savings on it. That kind of thing.
I bet we have something.
Yeah, I said that. We have not discussed it to the point where I can give you any details. But if I know Bobby well enough and Jerry and the crew, guys are going to insist on it. So yes,
no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
That's going to be a hell of a weekend. Like I want to know what the numbers are going to be, honestly, for just the amount of people that are going to be at the stadium, because Texas is one of those, people just come out to hang out at Bevo Boulevard, that kind of stuff. Obviously, you can seat 100-some thousand, but you may get 150, 180,000 people just kind of hanging out, just kicking it, having a good time. It might be like a party, that kind of thing. We'll see. We'll see how Ohio State travels too, because Ohio State travels.
They will.
And everybody likes Austin. Everybody wants to just come to Austin and kick it. People have come to Austin for games and not go to the game. It's like, nah, I just want to come. I thought there's going to be a party down here in Austin. So people do travel.
This a bit of a side note. You're absolutely right on that. And I was thinking back because I had made a comment at the time of the game in which it happened. The SEC fan base, Rob, that has traveled the best so far to Austin, in my opinion, Kentucky.
Really?
I think so. Kentucky was absolutely packed. And maybe it was just the way that the blue, contrasted with
Yeah,
orange in the
class.
stands.
Yeah.
But they had a significantly larger section in that southeast corner of the end zone than what I remember of Florida or Mississippi State. A&M obviously was traveled very well, but Kentucky, I remember that very vividly. They traveled well.
Wow. That's yeah. You know what? I guess it makes sense. Maybe they just knew it. We just want to go a trip to Austin, kind of thing. Like, I don't know, and I haven't even mapped out Kentucky to Austin or that kind of thing. But maybe it's just they want to go to Austin for the first time. Because I know when Longhorn fans are looking at the schedule, they look at, now they do, not in the Big 12 days, but now they look at certain destinations like, oh, I want to go there, so we're gonna go. I always wanted to go to Tennessee and Nashville. Oh, that's Nashville with Vanderbilt. Like, they just say, oh, I'm just going. I want to go there. And Longhorn fans travel well anyway, so maybe it's just destination. Not maybe. I know it's a destination spot, but maybe a lot of folks from Kentucky like it too. All right. Thank you for that super chat. We got all right with a super chat here. Says Rod. He wants to know best receiver you covered in a bowl game. Michael Clayton, Dwayne Bowe at LSU, Anthony Luke's at Arizona. That's good. Michael Clayton was a good receiver, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, Michael Clayton got drafted in the first round, did he not? Later on. I'm going to check me on that to make sure I'm right about it. But we played them in 2002. Actually, it might have been 2003 already because it might have happened January 1st. I'm not sure when the bowl game was. But we beat them pretty soundly, and they won a national title the next year. Like, we beat them pretty bad. And I don't remember how often I went up against Clayton. I'm sure I went up against you. I think their other receiver was Jarrell Myers, actually a guy I remember from Houston because he went to Madison High School, and he was like one of the other receivers on that team. There's also a really good receiver from Washington, tall. Might have been, his name might have been, I don't know if it was Williams was the last name. Could have been a Williams. I believe, I don't know if it was Mike Williams. I know it's a very common name in football. So I don't want to say that because I'm just thinking about Mike Williams, but I believe there's a Williams from Washington, big body receiver. Guy might have been 6'4", 6'5", legit, like tall dude. And I think he might have been drafted in the early rounds too. So those are probably the two best I went in the bowl games. So Washington.
Michael Clayton, number 15 overall, Rod. So
yeah, he was a good player. Like, yeah. I remember coming out, he was a good player. And like I said, I think it was Reggie Williams? Maybe Reggie Williams. Is it Reggie Williams? Reggie Williams from Washington, maybe his name. Maybe a Reggie. Maybe it's a Reggie. I'm thinking about Mike. Maybe it's a Reggie. But he was drafted really high too, out of Washington, if I'm not mistaken. So he was a good receiver. I don't know how he did against us. And don't start pulling up clips and highlights, CB, and send them to me. I don't want to see it. Unless I'm balling, I don't want to see it. But there you go. All right. Thank you for the super chat. All right. All right. Let's get to a couple of Reggie Williams. Yes. Yeah. He was pretty good. He's a big physical guy. Covering guys that are that big. He wasn't fast or anything. And Michael Clayton actually was kind of the same. He might have been 6'3", 6'4". Back then, that was in vogue. Like, they wanted bigger. It was a different era of football. Like, the best receivers I covered, like the first round guys I covered, like Rashawn Woods was one of those guys. Now you have more variety with the receiving position because, yes, they want big guys, but they also want small, twitchy guys, and they know how to utilize those guys. Back when I was coming up, it was just big body receivers, so they wanted big body corners too. That's why they moved Quentin Jammer from safety to corner because they wanted big body corners to match up with all these big, giant, massive receivers they were putting out there at the time too. But all right, good question. Before we get back to this, I want to hit this Sark USA Today interview while we got some time here, CJ, because this thing went viral and it went viral fast. And there's a lot of different elements to it, and I want to get to all the elements, but there's no doubt the most salacious, I guess, element of the interview was Sark out taking a shot, if you will, at Ole Miss academic standards. And this is 48 hours after Lane Kiffin took a shot at Ole Miss for their racial history and that kind of thing. all right, or racial politics in Mississippi. But here's what Sark had to say in the interview. We'll go over the other parts of it too, but this is the part that caught fire online. At Texas, you're talking about academics. At Texas, we will only take 50% of a player's academic credit hours. You may be a semester from graduating, but you're going all the way back to 50% if you play here and want a degree. But at Ole Miss, they can take you. All you have to do is take basket weaving, and you can get an Ole Miss degree. He would have been all right. He would have been all right without the last point. Even Michigan Ole Miss, exactly. But the basket weaving, oh, you taking shots, man. You took a shot at him. Hey, I ain't mad at him. Like, good for you, Clark. But what are your thoughts about this comment and obviously the I don't know, fallout, the domino effect from it?
Well, I kind of want to know how Clark Lee feels. Right, because Vanderbilt's a pretty darn hard school to get into himself. So I'm sure he's sitting back saying, yeah, Sark, I got your back here. But no, it is something that probably isn't talked about enough in the world of NIL and the portal and everything is admissions. And obviously I'm kind of on the side of, if you're a head football coach, if you're an athletics department, if you have any idea on admissions or any say in whether or not your school is able to attract a massive name out of the portal, or even just anybody that can help your team in any sport, if you can't get them into your school one way or the other, that's on you. Quite frankly, it's on you, right?
Yeah.
Athletics departments everywhere tilt the scales to make sure that, the big 5-star stud can get into school to help out the program, right? Because what they bring in is significantly more than their place in a school of business, engineering, sociology. It doesn't matter, right? So I never really thought of it too significantly in the portal era now, because look, again, if you're a head coach, if you're an athletics administrator of any kind, it's like gerrymandering in a sense. You move lines to make sure that this kid can get to your campus and enroll in some sort of major that isn't completely made up so that they can get a degree and play ball for your school. It's just the fact of the matter. But I do like when Sark gets a little snippy like this. I've been on the receiving end of it. It's not completely the fun part of it, Rod, but I like it, right? Because it's that feistiness that I hope shows up each Saturday when Texas goes up and plays in Ole Miss or Georgia or Ohio State.
Yeah, like I said, and I'm a Longhorn, right? Lifetime Longhorn. I got a degree from the University of Texas. It does mean a lot to me. And I was like, he has talked about this multiple times this offseason, guys. How many times, CJ, has he mentioned our guys go to class? To the point where Muschamp even mentioned it too. He dropped the same line. He dropped the same line. So multiple times Sark has mentioned, our guys go to class. And I think, like you said, CJ, now he's seeing it as it's a selling point for him, right? That's part of him selling the program. Like, hey man, University of Texas degree means a lot. It'll take you far in life. The alumni, they're huge, and they love their Longhorn athletes, and they show love to their Longhorn athletes. Like, that's a big selling point for him, and he believes that selling point is almost being diminished because we don't focus on education enough. He even said in his article, he also says, it's like we've forgotten about academics, yet less than 5% of these guys will play in the NFL. So he's like, I'm still trying to sell education because for me, he's like, it works. Like, Texas is a great university. It's like right outside the Ivy Leagues, that kind of thing. I'm still selling it. Nobody else is selling education. And I think he believes that it's hurting his sales pitch, that people don't care about education. If they cared about education, Texas will be higher. I should be higher on your list. Like, because you'll care about the degree. On top of the rev share and the NIL opportunities, Texas has all that. But in addition to that, the added value is the degree that you'll get that'll take you far in life. And I think he is saying now, I think he is feeling that is being diminished in his sales. And he's probably right.
But you'll only hear about this. You'll only hear about the stance from John Summerall at Florida, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, Sark at Texas, right? I'm sure Kyle Whittingham up in Michigan will have something to say like this. Like, you'll only hear about this from institutions that have something to claim about their education, right? And something where a diploma from that institution will carry weight. You won't hear about this from Ole Miss. You certainly won't hear Joey McGuire and Texas Tech beating the drums for academic admissions or any sort of eligibility to come as a result of transferring in hours because, well, anybody who can write their name on a Scantron will get into those schools, right? So if you have this in your back pocket to sell an education, then yeah, push the envelope as far as you can. But I'm sure folks in Oxford were like, man, 2 days in a row where a coach across the country, whether it's Lane or Sark, or, I mean, again, Summerall kind of jumped in the fun. It was like, hey, let me start poking Ole Miss a little bit. So probably not too fun if you're Coach Golding over there at the moment.
I believe he's responded. And by the way, Lane Kiffin did he did issue an apology, I believe. And he said that he wasn't trying to. He said I really apologize if anybody at Ole Miss or in Mississippi was offended by that. He said in a 4-hour interview, I was asked a lot of questions on a lot of things, and Ole Miss has been wonderful to me and my family. I was asked questions about the differences in recruiting, and I said a narrative that we battled there from some out-of-state Black parents and grandparents was not wanting their kid to move to Mississippi. And he said, that's a narrative coaches have been fighting forever, blah, blah, blah. And so by the way, he's right about that. So I don't know if the apology was genuine or whatever, but 4 hours is a long time. I would just say this, when you talk for a long time, because I've had 4-hour and 5-hour radio shows, you do say some stupid stuff when you talk for that long. Like you just say, you don't say, you wouldn't think so. That's why politicians always say stupid stuff. They talk for too long. You're talking too much.
Talk way too long.
6 hours a day, you're gonna listen up saying, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. That wouldn't, yeah. So I do I get that. Like I said, whether it's genuine or not, it depends on whether you're a Lane fan. And I will say this: when I was going to Texas, like literally in 1999, there were parents of, and I won't even say who it is, I'm not putting their business out there, but of guys that I knew parents of recruits, guys who were all Americans and the Texas wanted, who said, I'm not sending my kid to Texas because of their racial history. Period. That was in 1999. It is a long time ago, but it ain't that long ago. Like, literally, their parents like, no, my kid's not going to Texas. No, have you know the history of Texas? Like, literally, that was the thing. I didn't think anything of it, but then my dad told me, he's like, yeah, that's a history. He's like, that's a history of most schools, though. That's just the way it is. I mean, we become more progressive. So just throwing that out there, and that's what people will say. But Mississippi's a different beast altogether. I've been to Mississippi a few times, and I don't like stopping in Mississippi. I'll just say that. But I'm more comfortable in Louisiana. People say Louisiana, isn't that also a place that you got some, racial animosity, that kind of thing? My family is swamp people from Louisiana, so I probably experienced less of it. Yeah, but so like I say, I get where people are coming from with that, because I know there are parents who have not wanted their kids to go to certain schools because of the history of something. But I'll say this about Sark. The Ole Miss shot. Do we think that there's a coincidence or any conspiracy theory with the fact that Lane Kiffin took a shot at Ole Miss and their racial history or whatever, and then Sark, and we know they're good friends. Like, literally, we know they own text together. They own a private text together, and they're probably on the group text together. Do we think there's any coincidence? Is it a coincidence that they both took a shot at Ole Miss within 48 hours of each other? And they both.
Yeah, I wonder when that interview with Matt Hayes was taken with Sark, because obviously I don't think it was this morning, but the first thing I saw when I woke up was quotes of Sark saying basket weaving Ole Miss, blah blah blah. So certainly could have been today, could have been yesterday, sure. Could he have seen the Lane Kiffin comments? Also true. But I also think, all right, if there's a chance to pile on Golding over there at Ole Miss, I think so. Let's not forget, Pete Golden took a shot at Steve Sarkisian when he was the defensive coordinator at Alabama, and they were trying to recruit after Arch Manning. So could there be some animosity? We'll see, right? Some of those comments that make public national news like that, I'm sure, aren't easily forgotten. So, and for folks unaware, Golding in a recruitment pitch to the Manning family brought up the sobriety issues of Steve Sarkisian previously at Washington and USC in a way to dissuade the Manning family from choosing Texas. That obviously did not work. So, Rod, I think in today's day and age, there's more back and forth, more camaraderie amongst coaches at this level, right? I don't think there's as much pure hatred, but I don't think it's completely gone away. So could it have been more of a response to that now that he is in control of a program all by himself now? He's out of the cover of a Lane Kiffin or a Nick Saban? Possibly. I don't think that's a 0%, chance there.
Okay, do you think that Sark or Lane texted each other today? Do you think what are the odds that Sark or Lane texted one of the other today after they both went back-to-back days going viral, taking shots at Ole Miss? Come on. I'm on this. What the odds? Come on, CJ. You're an odds man. What's the percentage?
I don't want to say no. I could certainly see Lane Kiffin just responding back and be like, "Nice, bro. Like you got
it." Or like a fist bump.
Yep, that's exactly it. Sends a GIF or just the emoji of the "Hey, bro."
Yeah, you know it. I know that. I know it. Yeah, you're right. You probably want to keep it classy, but just one little emoji, boom. Just keep it like that. But like I said, it's really the Real Housewives of the SEC. Great point, Sam, man. I like it because I think drama it's good for the sport because it'll bring in a lot of fans who wouldn't normally watch these games. They're not fans of either team. They're like, you know what? Texas got some, Texas taking shots or Sark taking shots at Pete Golding. Oh, Pete Golding used he used Sark's past against him in recruiting and that kind of thing. Like people like it. That's why people love the NBA. The NBA's got that element to it. The NBA is not that fun to watch. The NBA's got a lot of drama.
I'm right there. I love the soap opera-ness of the NBA. Yeah. That's why I can't quit it, right? The product has obviously not been as great. You're seeing all sorts of 20, 30, 40-point blowouts in the playoffs. But I'm saying I can't help looking back at some of the sagas like DeAndre Jordan getting locked in a room by the other teammates and the GM and the coach and the fights between the Warriors and the Rockets back in the day. Is like, God, I just love it. I love the storylines. College football has it. I think more so than the NFL because the NFL is too corporate, right? Nothing leaks out that they don't want leaked out. You can't corral 105 college athletes across 16 other institutions in one conference, and there's 7 other conferences. I love it. And I also kind of play into this, Rod. Bring back more taunting. Bring back more physicality. Bring back more trash talk. It's great for the sports. It's great for the fans. And these coaches going back and forth, I kind of want to have, you go to we talked about it a little bit in the OTF chat earlier today. The Texas High School Coaches Association is July 19th and 20th down in Houston this year. And each year at the High School Coaches Association, the in-state college football head coaches sit down on a panel and answer questions, and we'll sit there and talk about, what's, up and coming with your program. What do you like about this, the portal, NIL, blah, blah, blah. I want to see that with all 16 head coaches in the SEC.
That's
SEC
good.
Media Days. You guys, regardless of what day you're talking, you're there for 4 days. You sit up on a panel and you answer questions about whatever. So I want to see that because I know folks will take a shot at, Sark, you going to address what Pete Golden said? Like, I want to.
CJ, that is a brilliant idea because you almost treat it like, speaking of Real Housewives, you ever see the reunion shows? Celebrity Deathmatch. But you ever see the reunion shows? It's basically
it gets messy.
You bring them all together. It's like, all right, we're going to bring up all the drama from the season. And I want y'all to face off and talk about it, go at it. And it'd be the same type, right, of setup where he's like, let's bring up that drama and let's see what do you have to say about that, Pete Golden? Oh, Sark, you got a response to that, Sark? You know what I mean? It just, let's do it.
Imagine the ratings. Imagine the ratings.
Dude, you could sell that, man. People would watch the whole thing. People would watch the whole thing. Like you can make it an hour or whatever you want to do. People would watch it. That's fantastic. That's a great idea, CJ. That's money. So you got that reality TV mind, man. That's working right there. Because what you have now, you have a villain. And Lane Kiffin is the villain. And one villain, you'd be surprised. One villain. That's why all these reality TV shows, they see that one villain. Because that one villain affords a lot of these other different storylines because villains create conflict with whoever they're facing off with and forcing other people to get into conflict. And that conflict creates storylines. And that's what's happening. And that's Lane Kiffin's got. It's like a domino effect from it. It's like a butterfly effect of his villainy. And now college football's got a real villain. And a key to being a good villain is like, I love LeBron, but LeBron wasn't a great villain. He was unintentionally a villain. He didn't even want to embrace it. He embraced it for a little while. I remember that commercial they had, but to be a real villain, you got to like being a villain. You got to like people looking at you and perceiving you as a villain. And LeBron really didn't like that because he likes being liked and loved by everybody. Now he's old school, so he doesn't care. Lane Kiffin, he likes being a villain.
I think so.
And that's really good. Now that he's at LSU, which is also kind of a program that's been a villain. and they get together, this is gonna be good, man.
It's perfect. And it's perfect because he's at a school now where a fan base is very brash. They're very confident in their abilities, not just in football, but in other sports as well, to the point where, boy, do they talk. And when they start talking, boy, you want to do everything you can to beat them. So, Rod, I'm with it. And on top of that, when you have a villain, other folks start saying, okay, well, if they're pushing the line here, certainly I could take up a little bit more space and start kind of towing the line a little bit as well. So I would love something like this. I might write a letter.
I love your idea, though. I'm telling you, like that reunion idea, that's great. It's money. All right, let's get to a couple other the comments from Sark. From this USA Today interview. And like I said, I do think Sark, he's probably tired of some negative recruiting against him. I mean, you brought up the Pete Golding thing. I mean, I would say it's about negative recruiting because Texas is doing it right now, taking a shot at Ole Miss. That's you negative recruiting Ole Miss, right? Everybody's negative recruiting. Like, everybody does it. I compare it to, it's kind of like peeing in the shower. Everybody's doing it. Nobody's talking about it. Like, nobody wants to admit it. Everybody's kind of ashamed of it. It's okay. So that's what is everybody. So Sark does it and his staff have done it too. And everybody's doing it to them. Now, there's probably a line that you shouldn't cross. Maybe you should talk about the school and the program and the accomplishments and maybe not get personal. And I believe the Pete Golding thing, the belief is that got personal. And Eric says, I think Bass. I know. I'm not trying to be gross with that. I'm just trying to make an analogy. And I probably should have found something else to do it. All right. Let's talk about the comment that Sark made, kind of taking shots at the NCAA. Because he also took shots at the NCAA. He got into the selection committee. We'll get into that in a second too. But he basically said there's a reason in the NFL when you get caught tampering, you get drilled, you lose draft picks. He said you don't practice the right way, you lose practice days, coaches get fined. There are a lot of things in place to protect their rules and guardrails. But he says right now in college football, there's no fear. People do whatever they want. Essentially saying that there's no consequences right now in college football. He's probably right about that. If he's talking about the tampering thing, there's no doubt. But here's the thing: is Sark being a whistleblower here? Is it because the conversation outside of Texas? Because we all say Sark's being a whistleblower, and good. Because I think Matt got to the point late in his career where Matt started talking about some of the corruption behind the scenes that was happening. Like he was openly, we would hear him do that in interviews, and I was like, man, Sark, Mac is being pretty forthcoming about what's going on behind the scenes. And I think he was kind of whistleblowing to a certain extent about what was wrong with college football. And so I think Sark, this is a whistleblowing. Whistleblowing to me is different than it means I'm observing some of the corruption and wrongdoing, but not taking part in it. But being a snitch is different because then if you've taken part in the wrongdoing and done some of it too, then you want people to see you in a more kind of sanctimonious light. Then that would you just kind of snitching out the game in that sense. So I think he's being a whistleblower here because I think Sark is trying to operate with a standard, or at least by a standard. And he's probably realizing that not nobody, but most of the other teams and programs he's competing against, they're not trying to operate by that standard. They don't care about it.
No, we talked about towing that line, Rod, and seeing how far you can go. This is it's something that I'm sure Texas and Sark, having known how Texas operates for almost a decade now, they will do whatever they can to make sure that they are not in the sights of the NCAA, to make sure that they are not crossing lines, whether it's in recruiting, whether it's in off-field allegations, whether it's whatever, right? To make sure that their image remains squeaky clean. So to see that other schools are getting away with actions that are deemed against rules set forth by the SEC or the NCAA, I'm sure that's frustrating. And I don't think there's anything more obvious at the moment than there's nothing real right now to set and enforce the rules of the NCAA than eligibility, right? If you don't like the ruling on whether or not a transfer or someone who is seeking a 5th or 6th year of eligibility currently has, well, just sue, right? Take it to court. Get a judge in your backyard to rule one way or the other. Fight the NCAA, and the NCAA, as we've seen, does not like going to court. They do not like litigious lawsuits that end up going on for days and days and weeks, and they'll end up just kind of bowing over. So that's probably the frustration more than anything on the topic of that, also, I know that Sark's now been very outspoken about the college football playoff, right? He was frustrated a year ago when Texas was on the outside looking in. And he says, look, there's no consistency. There's no real guidelines. There's no enforcement of the rules or the standards in which the committee sets forth and says that they're going to judge and evaluate teams and their performances on the field by, and follow it up with their actions of their actual ranking. So I understand it. And in a way, we've talked about this with Mac Brown in the past too. When you're the head coach, you have to be the best politician for your university as well. So that's part of it that Sark is doing as well, making sure that his school, and to a lesser extent, his conference is in a position to benefit the most from rule changes or whatever other actions come as a result to the ever-changing landscape of college football.
Yeah. And the thing is, Texas is benefiting from all of these changes, right? The new landscape of college football. Texas is actually one of the teams or programs in an advantageous position with all these changes. That's why it is, like I said, Sark is kind of speaking as, and I love what it's, all right. Just putting a super chat here. Thank you. Said Sark being a fan and advocate of the sport. I do think there is something about him that he's kind of advocating, because he's talked about this before, changes he wants made, and look at the NFL for this and better examples. So I do think there's a part of him that he loves the sport. He said that multiple times. Even CJ brought up his comment all the times about he loves the glamour and the pageantry and everything with the sport. So I do think part of him is being a fan, and I do think there's, because like I said, he benefits from all this. Texas should be benefiting from all of this. But I do think operating now, because I've heard this even from Mac Brown's days, and I'm sure it hasn't changed in the NIL world. It's probably even stricter. Compliance at Texas, they're not trying to be your friend. Yeah. Like, they don't really work with you. They like, nah, man, we're not playing that game. Like we don't need any publicity. Yeah.
We need control of the publicity, right?
Yes, I've heard that multiple times. That compliance at other universities is like, oh yeah, man, we're working with you, whatever you need. And compliance Texas is like, nah, nope. They're not very flexible in a lot of things, because they don't want to get caught up in some scandal or something like that. And not saying something hasn't happened or won't happen, but they have it was in Mac's day, it was really strict, and I think now in NIL it's probably as strict, if not stricter. And that's a big part of probably what Sark's like, hey man, here at Texas, I gotta abide by rules that y'all don't even care about at other universities. Yeah. And he believes that's probably hindering his ability to recruit, and he's right about that. All right, last little nugget that Sark brought up there that I think is interesting, in it talking about the NCAA and their lack of institutional control, if you will. He said there's a lot of sentiment for breaking away and having your own rules. That's realistic, he said. You're going to sign up or you don't, but if you do, here's our rules. Here's how this thing is going to work. He threw that out there. For him to say that means that people behind the scenes been talking about that, and there's probably a lot more coaches, maybe even a majority of coaches, that feel the same way. Like, emancipating from the NCAA is probably the most likely future for major college football. For him to drop that, that's big.
Yeah. That is big, especially coming from the head coach of the University of Texas, someone who just caused the number of dominoes to fall in terms of conference realignment, not just 4 years ago, right? So the other quote that really stood out to me came, I believe Brett McMurphy tweeted it earlier in regards to one of his sources, or someone that commented on the ACC and Notre Dame relationship. They said Notre Dame's the guy that walks into your house, kicks his feet up, eats your food, kicks your dog, doesn't clean up a mess, and walks right on out without saying thank you. And that's how it is with the ACC. And they said, look, well, and I'm sure Sark in kind of a loose relationship here says, to hell with everything that we know about conferences and the regulations that go into abiding by a conference. If Notre Dame can set their schedule every year to be in a position to make a 12-team college football playoff, why shouldn't we? Right? What is stopping Texas or Ohio State? Or, well, now you're seeing Duke sell out all of their media rights to Amazon as well. Texas, I'm sure, would earn a pretty penny, probably the highest amongst anybody in the country outside of maybe Ohio State. Right? Yeah. So why not? throw that out there and see if it scares the conference or the NCAA into saying, oh, we've really got to figure it out because now the coaches are actually talking about it. And it's been a quiet secret for years. Now they're talking about it. Now it's generating buzz. We have to figure it out before we're just an ancient, organization, basically.
I feel like they're saying the quiet part out loud now. People used to think that, but now it's like people are saying that. People with power, like Sark. All right, we got one more question. We'll get to that, but let's thank our sponsor before we end tonight's live stream. Let's thank our friend Andy Ludicky and his team. We appreciate him sponsoring our Tuesday night live stream. Folks, if you are looking to diversify your portfolio, or if you're just looking to be someone like myself that has a hands in different businesses, Andy and his team can help you by finding you different businesses that will fit your time allotment and your financial goals. If you've been stuck in a corporate rat race with 2 weeks PTO and no control over the money you make or your schedule in general, call Andy and he'll take you through a process to help you find a business that will fit your skill sets and your financial goals. Franchise ownership isn't for everyone, but if you have a desire to take control of your financial destiny, reach out today at 404-973-9901. That's 404-973-9901. Or you can reach out at Andy@myperfectfranchise.net. That's Andy@myperfectfranchise.net. Thank you very much to Andy Ludicky and his team for being a part of our team here at On Texas Football. And while we're thanking sponsors, also thank Mark Saunders. We appreciate Mark Saunders also being one of our sponsors here for our Tuesday night live stream. When it comes to protecting all your stuff, wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects it all? And here's some good news for your Texas All-State agent. Mark Saunders is the only insurance agent you need. Everything from your home, car, boat, motorcycle, RV, ATV, you name it. So if you're looking for someone local in the Central Texas, Austin, Round Rock area, give Mark a call today, 512-218-8571. That's 512-218-8571. Or you're in good hands. With more than 35 years of experience, you will be with Texas alum Mark Saunders. Call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders today at 512-218-8571, or reach out at marksaunders@allstate.com. That's marksaunders@allstate.com. Thank you very much to Mark Saunders, and we appreciate all of our sponsors here at On Texas Football. All right, we got a couple of super chats before we end today's live stream. Circle of Trust, thank you for the super chat. Says, other than Bishop, who's another sleeper wide receiver that could break out this year? Love y'all. Love you too, Circle of Trust. Love that name too. Thank you for the super chat. What are your thoughts, CJ? Other than Bishop, because everybody's got him on the list, got a breakout receiver. I'll give you props because you're the one who told me David McCutcheon was going to be one of the young wide receivers to separate last season, and he did. Who are your thoughts about other than Bishop could be a sleeper wide receiver to break out?
Yeah, this year I think it's going to be a little bit difficult given how star-studded Texas is up top. I will say I do think there's going to be more plays made by Sterling Burkhalter this year than maybe I originally anticipated when Texas signed him out of the portal. Again, when Texas signed him, I was like, okay, this is a depth piece. How much will he contribute? Well, as the spring went on, you started to hear his name more and more, given some of the opportunities when Khalid Lockett went down, Ryan Wingo was battling some stuff, and Mosley wasn't 100%. He had opportunities, and it was a very similar offense to what he ran at Wake Forest. Yeah. So that's a name that, look, his numbers, his statistics, at Wake Forest probably don't jump off the page. But he's a veteran. He's put up 1,000 career receiving yards already in his career. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we look at a very crucial moment of a game and it's Sterling Burkhalter coming up with a big play to move the chains or put points on the board. How about that?
Oh, I like that. That's a nice one, CJ. That's pretty damn good, actually. Yeah, it's tough for me. You guys know I'm all about Sark. I know he keeps that circle of trust pretty tight. And to see it go, because I think they like David McCutcheon too, and I think him and Bishop gonna be fighting it out for reps at 4 spot. I think certainly Burkhardt, even Sark said that they like the way he's looked this spring. I don't know how many is gonna be in that circle. Right now, my guess is 5 guys. But it could get deeper than that. The wide receiver position is really deep because some of your best players, the top of your roster, are at the wide receiver position. All right. Says, as a Notre Dame fan as well, Texas should follow. Huh. Okay. To follow the Notre Dame models, what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
They'll control everything. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, they
What's
basically
nothing.
No, there's really nothing to stop you these days. You can just I mean, you got to obviously play your conference schedule, but you can make things as light as you would like to. You don't have to make things tough on you. So I'm with you. It's a good point. All right. Thank you for that super chat. All right. Silver Spurs Sicko says, hola, Dr. Babers. I wish I was Dr. Babers, but I maybe football, maybe a football doctorate, if that's a thing. If there's a football doctorate, boom, they call me Dr. Babers. I have studied
football theorist over here.
There you go. All right. Thank you guys for the super chats. Really fun live stream tonight. Thank you guys for your participation as well. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. He's a real MVP. Nobody does it better. Thank you, CJ. Great stuff. If we missed any of your questions, I know there are a ton out there. I apologize for not getting to all of them. You can direct them to the gentleman at Coffee and Football bright and early tomorrow morning. That'll be the man, the myth, the legend himself, Bobby Burden. You are a doctor of football theory. Thank you, Silver Spurs Sicko. I appreciate that. And the man, Jerry Hamilton, as well. That'll be at 8:15 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then you'll have your 7 p.m. live stream. Jeff Howe will be back with CJ as well off of the Wednesday night live stream tomorrow at 7 p.m. For CJ and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Thank you for all the super chats. Hook 'em horns.
Welcome. Oof. Good night.